Each time I meet with a bar bat mitzvah student for the very first time, I ask them, what is it that you're looking forward to about your bar or bat mitzvah? Often, there's a pause. The young person wonders if it's really okay to tell the truth. The party. The parents are momentarily mortified, but not I. Of course, the preteen is most excited about having all their friends come to celebrate with them. Moreover, a year in advance, they feel unsure about their Hebrew and they're not yet at the point of looking forward to leading the service and reading from the Torah. By the time the bar bat mitzvah rolls around, virtually every young person is eager to demonstrate what they've achieved, and they're still psyched for the party. Let's be honest. As beautifully and meaningfully as Maddie and Sadie have led our service tonight, and will again tomorrow when they will also read from the Torah, much about their Benot Mitzvah is disappointing. Their immediate family here in the sanctuary should be surrounded in person by loving friends, family, and community. And there should be a party. One minute dilemma about this Benot Mitzvah came when I filled out the bat mitzvah certificates. There's a place where I'm supposed to write the week's Torah portion. The trouble is that Sadie and Maddie are reading the portion for May 9th, not for July 25th, since we're not so cruel as to have made them learn a whole new portion when the Benot Mitzvah was postponed. Thankfully, that blank was long enough on the certificate for me to write the truth. Maddie and Sadie are becoming Benot Mitzvah on Shabbat Devarim, reading Parashat Emor. In other words, Jews around the world this Shabbat are reading the first portion in the book of Deuteronomy, while Maddie and Sadie will read the May 9th selection from Leviticus. Sadie and Maddie will teach you about Parashat Emor tomorrow. Tonight, I would like to say a few words about why Parashat Devarim is appropriate to this occasion, not as it was supposed to be, but as it is. Deuteronomy purports to be a long final oration by Moses before he dies, recalling the experiences of the Israelites since leaving Egypt nearly 40 years earlier. Essentially a recap of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. Scholars think that the book was written shortly after the northern kingdom of Israel was conquered by the Assyrians. After that terrible disaster, Kings Hezekiah and Josiah enacted reforms that would improve Judean society and hopefully avert calamity in the southern kingdom of Judea to match the catastrophe up north. The authors of Deuteronomy have Moses retelling the stories and laws a little differently from how they appear in earlier books to achieve the king's goal of strengthening and unifying their society. In the years ahead, we too will be living in the wake of a disaster. Right now, we remain in the midst of a global pandemic, not to mention civil unrest, a renewed recognition of racial injustice, and a harshly divided nation. We face countless disappointments, not the least of them being a Benot Mitzvah that doesn't match plans and dreams. God willing, in the years ahead, we will draw lessons from this calamitous year, telling its story in a way that shapes a better future, much as Deuteronomy shaped a better Judea. Kings Hezekiah and Josiah weren't the last Jewish leaders to recreate society in order to improve it. Centuries later, as the Second Temple was destroyed, our rabbis led a revolution to assure that the worship of the one God would continue. That rebellion was not fought with armies, but with ideas. My teacher, Rabbi Daniel Hartman, has described an important aspect of the rabbinic upheaval. In biblical theology, when something bad happened, it was your fault. You did something wrong to deserve it. The rabbis disagreed. Yes, when something bad happens, we should examine our behavior, but not to assign blame. Instead, we must learn how we might do better next time. Rabbi Hartman goes on to tell a touching story about his own parents of blessed memory and what he has learned during the pandemic. Whenever he misbehaved as a child, Rabbi Hartman's parents would remind him, "Daniel, you're a gift." Indeed, each of us is a gift from God. However, Rabbi Hartman says that coronavirus has taught him, "I'm not a gift," or at least not always. Each of us, we now know very clearly, can endanger others. When we choose to disregard public health, gathering in close proximity with people not from our own households, especially when not wearing masks, we imperil others, not only ourselves. Rabbi Hartman reminds us of a commandment to Deuteronomy. When you build a new house, you shall make a parapet, that is a railing, for your roof. In a time and region where roofs were flat and people got around town by walking on the rooftops, the railings were a safety precaution, no different from masks and social distancing today. The mitzvah boils down to a requirement that we not act in a way that endangers others. When we retell the story of 2020, I pray we will describe a commitment to live our lives in ways that care for the well-being of others. Not only ourselves, not only our families, but our entire communities, our nation, and the full human family. Fulfilling that mitzvah, building that metaphorical railing around our roofs, requires us to do even more than protect other people's health. The commandment to safeguard our houses includes taking responsibility for racial justice in our nation, assuring the well-being of others at a time of deep societal division demands that we not lash out cruelly against those who do not share our views, and that we not imperil the civil liberties of people with whom we disagree. When we retell the story of 2020, I hope we will also tell a story of resilience. For example, of two young teenagers who persisted, becoming B'not Mitzvah with integrity despite deep disappointment, and of all the others like them, whose special moments, from births to graduations to weddings, and so many other happy occasions, did not turn out as planned. We must live in the world that God created and give thanks for the world that God created, even if it isn't exactly as we would wish. May we accept the world as it is and strive in 2020 and after this calamity has passed to live in such a way that our actions build a better future.